The lights were blinding. The roar of the crowd was a physical force, a tidal wave of sound washing over the massive stage. And in the center of it all, one man stood, trying to catch his breath. For a boy who grew up with almost nothing, who had lost his father, his home, and maybe even the belief of his own country, this stage in America was the end of the line. He had risked everything for this one single moment. He'd faced down the ghosts of his past, the sting of failure, and the crushing weight of grief. Now, after weeks of fighting, after pouring every ounce of his pain and hope into his music, it all came down to this: one name, one announcement. He had one last chance to see if the song he carried in his heart was enough to make an entire country finally stop and listen. Long before he ever set foot on an American stage, Sofronio Vasquez was just another dreamer in the Philippines, a nation teeming with incredible musical talent. He came from humble beginnings in Mindanao, growing up in a home without basic comforts like a bed or indoor plumbing. But it was a home filled with music. It was his father who first lit that fire in him, who filled their small home with melody and taught him that a song could bring joy even in the hardest of times. But while the passion was there, the path to success was brutal. Sofronio, like many others, looked to the famed local singing competitions as his way out. He first stepped onto the stage of Tawag ng Tanghalan, a segment on the popular show It's Showtime. He sang his heart out, but it wasn't enough. He was a finalist, a promising talent, but ultimately he fell short of the grand prize. The sting of falling short was sharp, but what came next was a deeper cut. Nearly a decade ago, he gathered his courage and auditioned for The Voice of the Philippines. This was it, he thought. A different stage, a new opportunity. He walked out, the lights hit him, and he sang with everything he had. And then, silence. Not a single coach turned their chair. It was a devastating and public rejection. To stand on a national stage and be told, in no uncertain terms, that you're not what they're looking for is a blow that would extinguish the fire in most artists. For Sofronio, it was a moment that would haunt him for years. He was a would-be dentist, a young man who once believed he wasn't as musically gifted as those around him, and had planned a more stable career path. The rejections seemed to confirm his deepest fears, that maybe his father's gift of music wasn't meant for him. The music, however, refused to die. He began releasing his own independent singles, quiet whispers into a void, hoping someone might hear. But widespread fame remained elusive. He was a singer without a stage, a voice without an audience, a talent that his own homeland had seemingly passed over. The message he received was clear: you are not enough. It was a judgment that settled deep in his soul, a ghost of failure that would follow him across the world. Just as he was preparing for his dental boards, on the cusp of surrendering his musical dream for a more practical life, the universe dealt him the most devastating blow of all. His father, the man who was the source of his music, the very reason he sang, passed away in 2018. The loss was sudden and tragic, a profound and shattering grief that ripped the foundation of his world from under him. The joy his father had brought into their lives through song was replaced by a deafening silence. The dream they had shared now seemed like a cruel joke. In the depths of his sorrow, something shifted in Sofronio. The grief was all-consuming, but within it, a new kind of resolve began to form. He looked at the path ahead, a safe, predictable career in dentistry. And then he looked back at the memory of his father. He realized that giving up on singing wasn't just giving up on a dream. It was letting go of the most vital part of his father's legacy. He felt an overwhelming need to honor him. The music was no longer about fame or validation. It became a mission. It was a way to keep his father's spirit alive. Fueled by this new purpose, Sofronio made a decision that would alter the course of his life. In 2022, he packed his bags and moved to the United States, settling in Utica, New York. It was a monumental leap of faith. He left behind everything he knew for a country where he was a complete unknown, taking a job as a dental assistant to support his family back home. He wasn't running from his grief, but toward a destiny he felt compelled to fulfill. The rejections in the Philippines had broken his confidence, but his father's death had forged his spirit in steel. This move was a pilgrimage. He was a son carrying his father's song, risking it all for one last chance to let the world hear it. 2 years later, that journey led him to a brightly lit studio in Los Angeles for the blind auditions of season 26 of The Voice. This was the culmination of everything. As he walked onto the stage, he was visibly nervous. A humble figure dwarfed by the massive, empty coaches' chairs turned against him, a painful reminder of his rejection in the Philippines. For the 4 superstar coaches, Reba McEntire, Snoop Dogg, Gwen Stefani, and Michael Bublé, he was just the next singer in a long line of auditions. The music started, the familiar chords of Mary J. Blige's "I'm Going Down." He took a breath, and then he sang. It took less than 10 seconds. The very first notes that left his mouth were unleashed, a torrent of soul, pain, and raw power that flooded the studio. It was a sound so pure and emotionally charged, it physically jolted the coaches. Before he could even finish the first line, Snoop Dogg slammed his button, whipping his chair around with a look of stunned disbelief. Seconds later, another chair turned, then another, and then the fourth. A 4-chair turn. The validation he had craved for so long was now his in a spectacular, unanimous wave. When the song ended, the coaches were on their feet, giving him a standing ovation. Reba McEntire described his voice as buttery and so full of soul it touched her heart. Gwen Stefani was in awe, declaring, "That was a Grammy performance," calling his talent a divine gift. But it was Michael Bublé who seemed to connect with him on a deeper level. He looked at Sofronio and said a simple word in Tagalog, "Salamat," thank you. Bublé spoke of the beautiful relationship he'd had with the Philippines and how proud the entire nation must be of him. He saw more than just a great voice. He saw the story behind it. "You and me to the top," Bublé promised. In that moment, Sofronio's choice was clear. He chose Team Bublé. Joining Team Bublé marked the beginning of an incredible transformation. Michael Bublé became more than a coach. He was a mentor and a Filipino brother, as he would call him. He didn't try to change Sofronio. He helped him refine his raw power and channel it into breathtaking performances. "Your mentorship is a blessing to me, my family, and to all the dreamers out there," Sofronio would later tell his coach. Week after week, Sofronio proved his 4-chair turn was no fluke. He was a vocal chameleon, delivering a powerful cover of Elvis Presley's "If I Can Dream" in the playoffs, and later taking on Roy Orbison's incredibly difficult ballad, "Crying," during the top 8 round. His rendition of "Crying" was a masterclass in vocal control and emotional depth, earning a thunderous standing ovation and cementing his status as the man to beat. The shy, humble man from Mindanao had become the Filipino phenom, a powerhouse destined for the title. His performances consistently garnered millions of views online, with fans from the Philippines and all over the world rallying behind him. He expressed his profound gratitude on social media, saying, "Thank you so much to my Filipinos everywhere and in America who gave so much love and support." This wasn't just a competition, it was a movement. Buble watched with immense pride, recognizing the rare combination of immense talent and profound resilience. The stage was set for the grand finale. Now, only one performance stood between him and the dream he had chased across an ocean. It was December 10th, 2024, the night of the finale. The energy in the studio was electric. For his final solo performances, Sofronio chose two songs that perfectly encapsulated his journey: Sia's Unstoppable and A Million Dreams from The Greatest Showman. When he began to sing A Million Dreams, the moment felt transcendent. The lyrics, "A million dreams are keeping me awake. For the world we're gonna make," were his life story. He poured every ounce of his history into the performance: the memory of his father, the pain of rejection, and the hope that carried him to America. His voice, a mix of velvet and steel, soared through the arena, a flawless declaration that solidified his place as the winner in the hearts of millions. Later, he returned to the stage for a duet with his coach, Michael Bublé. Together, they performed a soulful rendition of Who's Lovin' You? The performance was a passing of the torch, a master sharing the spotlight with his brilliant student. Their voices blended seamlessly, a conversation between two artists who shared a deep mutual respect. For Sofronio, this moment was already a victory. He was singing with his idol, fulfilling the promise Bublé had made in the blind auditions to take him to the top. And here they were. The voting lines were closed. All that was left was to wait. The final moments of the show stretched into an eternity. Sofronio stood on stage with the other finalists. Host Carson Daly held the envelope. The announcements began in reverse order: 5th place, 4th, then 3rd. Finally, it was down to the last two: Sofronio Vasquez and his teammate Shy, a historic 1-2 finish for their first-time coach, Michael Bublé. Sofronio's heart was pounding. He had manifested this moment every single day, but now the ghosts of past failures crept in. Carson Daly looked down at the card and smiled. The winner of The Voice is... A beat of silence. Sofronio Vasquez. The name echoed through the studio, and in that instant, Sofronio's body gave out. He collapsed to his knees, head in his hands, completely overcome with emotion. It wasn't a dramatic drop. It was the physical release of a lifetime of struggle, a dam of emotion breaking all at once. Tears streamed down his face as confetti rained from the ceiling. It was a flashback, as he later described it. Every rejection, every doubt, colliding with this single perfect moment of vindication. Michael Bublé rushed to his side, pulling his victorious artist into a tight embrace. Sofronio had done it. He was the winner of The Voice Season 26, claiming the $100,000 prize and a record deal with Universal Music Group. More than that, he had made history, becoming the first ever Filipino to win the American version of the show. In an emotional interview right after, clutching the winner's trophy, Sofronio was still in shock. He couldn't wait to call his mom and tell her that they had won. This victory was more than just for him. It was hope for my family, he said, his voice thick with emotion. And I know that up above, they are watching me and they're very happy for me. The boy who had been rejected on The Voice of the Philippines was now the champion of The Voice in America. The singer whose own country hadn't turned a chair for him had just made an entire nation stop and listen. His journey was a testament to resilience, a powerful story of how personal tragedy can be forged into breathtaking strength. Today, Sofronio Vasquez's journey is just beginning. He is set to return to Thailand to the Turks. The Voice stage in December 2025 to perform his new song, Superman, written by his coach, Michael Bublé. From a humble childhood in Mindanao to the brightest stage in America, Sofronio's story proves that a dream, when fueled by love and an unbreakable spirit, can overcome any obstacle. He is living proof that sometimes the voices that are ignored the longest are the ones that end up making the most beautiful noise.